before we go. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. We got a different. This will be a meeting, the annual meeting of the Executive Board, held 6th of September, 1966, St. Joseph's.
And Marie Miller, she's changed to a different section. She's not in charge of committee anymore.
But she still won't be a member of the association.
I know, but I said she wouldn't be on the private duty leave. She's in a nursing home. Now that we have a quorum, the meeting will please come to order. At this time, I wonder if Ms. Hudson, will you please return prayer for us, please?
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for Thy blessings to us as we assemble ourselves together this afternoon to deliberate on matters pertaining to our profession and this organization. We ask Thy guidance and direction in all that we do, and that Thy name may be glorified. We ask forgiveness of our sins in Jesus' name. Amen.
We have the roll call at this time.
Ms. Pope? Present. Ms. Dixon? Ms. Frances Hammett? Is she coming along?
She told me she would be here.
We're here. Ms. Mays? Here. Sister Kristen is coming?
She said she's coming.
Ms. Northey is not coming. Ms. Clark is not coming. Ms. Garland?
Present.
Ms. Hudson? Ms. Wells?
Present.
And Ms. Hale?
She is coming, I think.
Ms. Citronbaum is here. Ms. Thornton? Here. Let's see. And Ms. Doris Lee? She's not here. Is she coming? Anybody else? Ms. Zerks?
Yeah.
Ms. Hastings?
Here.
Ms. Honeycutt?
Here.
We'll have the approval of the minutes that have been circulated. Our last scheduled board meeting, the minutes of May 9th. And then we had 3 call meetings, the June 3rd and the August 8th. All of you familiar with the minutes that we're discussing? Then the minutes of May 9th, June 3rd, and August 8th are approved as circulated, unless there are corrections, discussion. Stand approved and as circulated. I have quite a few communications to share with you. I will pass these around. I will not go into the details of all of it, as you can well see. It would take quite some time. We do have a memorandum from the Executive Secretary of GSNA all news for Georgia nursing must be submitted by this date in order that we can publish the bulletin well in advance. Mrs. Atkins.
I called and she's going to let us send it in Friday morning in order to include all that boxes.
Oh, very good. If any of you have any other items that you'd like included, if you get them to Miss Atkins or myself, we'll try to get a full report. Also, a reminder that September 29th is the deadline for receiving 1966 membership to qualify for voting at GSNA. So, we'll circulate this. I have a letter of June 1st I received on return from convention that I have not shared with you, from the publicity chairman, Nancy Wooten of GSNA, regarding publicity, any publicity that we could have. She was reminding us about, she would like summaries of activities for Georgia Nurse Month, National Hospital Week, and any, like clippings of any nursing publicity. So I will pass this around. I have a communication of June 28th from Mrs. Alda Ditchfield regarding a one-day conference on legal aspects of nursing to be held at the Medical College of Georgia in Augusta. It's a one-day workshop, October 6, 1966. And I'll share the details on that. I have a communication of July 28th from Mrs. Merle Lott, Chairman of the Committee on Professional Practice from the Georgia State Nurses Association, relative to a program of September 30th on the committee, sponsored by the Committee on Professional Practice, with the details and a tentative outline of the workshop. So I will share that. I have a letter of September 1, 1966 from Mrs. Thomas Howell Clark, Chairman, the Board of Directors of the Atlanta's Woman of the Year, 1966, relative to any persons that would be nominated from our organization. It's the details.
Did you give us the date on that? Our president and our woman nurse of the year are automatically submitted in addition to any others that they have.
Yes, the details, I believe, are with nomination forms are included.
Ms. Arthur, that was for Ms. Pope, Ms. Mose Petrie.
We have a letter from Dr. Bevel Jones, pastor of St. Mark's Methodist Church, regarding the use of the St. Mark's Methodist Church for 5th District GSNA commemorative services, celebrating Nurse Week. Personally and on behalf of the staff and congregation of St. Mark's Methodist Church, I want to tell you how happy and honored we were to have the 5th District GSNA to hold their commemorative services celebrating Nurse Week in our sanctuary on May 12th. It was our privilege to have you wonderful people to use our facilities, and we want you to know that we shall be happy to work with you at any time in the future. God's richest blessings upon you all. Sincerely yours, Bevel Jones. And in keeping with that, I did have a letter of June 29th from Mabel Carcel, dear Miss Pope. Please extend my sincere appreciation to the members of the 5th District for the beautiful girl I received at the Nurse of the Year presentation ceremony. It's a bit overwhelming to be a recipient 2 years in succession. It makes me feel definite responsibility to live up to the honor bestowed. On behalf of the many nurses who are eminently qualified to receive like recognition and indeed which this award signifies, I accept the honor with grateful appreciation. Sincerely, Mabel Porcel. I have quite a detailed letter, which I think lends support and it is a bit encouraging, it seems to have from our own district persons, members who have become interested to the point regarding the threat of the union to not only inquire as to what they or she may do, but also to signify support. It's a copy of a letter to Mrs. Dixon for your information. I have had no reply as yet, but I want to reaffirm to you my desire to work with you in any way I can to avert the threat presently posed by the establishment of AFRN. Please call on me if I can be of any assistance. And in this, I think at our last call meeting, we did discuss having a program on the local and within the district of those positive things that were being done. Miss Sachs speaks of this, Charlotte Sachs, and when she says your letter from GSNA indicated the committee of the Georgia Hospital Association and GSNA members and of what ANA did in its last convention, and she further related the need for the membership at large to know that such discussions are being held and that we should be hearing more about it. So that's the letter that I would circulate regarding support. I have copies of other letters that will come out regarding from people regarding the registry that I think probably be more timely told. We do have a copy of a letter that has been circulated to me from the private duty section that it be read at the next board meeting. This is a copy of a letter to Mrs. Juanita Rochette. Am I pronouncing her name? Rochette. Yes. RN. Dear Mrs. Rochette, the ANA Private Duty Nurses section has been engaged in developing a guide for use by state and district associations for developing a program to encourage education increments for private duty nursing. The basis for differential or differentiation in fee is levels of preparation. At the recent ANA Biennium Convention, this guide was discussed with the private duty membership. Later this fall, we hope to distribute the completed guide and will keep your letter on file to see that a copy is sent to you. Sincerely, James L. Hudson, RN, ANA Section Coordinator. This is dated July 22nd. And it says the following telegram was read at a meeting July 8, 1966, Academy of Medicine. from New York, addressed to Olive Barden, President of Georgia State Nurses Association, 269 10th Street Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia. ANA fully supports the decision by the private duty nurses in Georgia District 5 to increase their fees. Although a fee of $25 per shift does not approach the figures stated in the national salary goal adopted unanimously at the 1966 ANA convention, it is a positive step forward. Improved salaries are vital to the recruitment of young people into nursing as well as to retaining experienced nurses in service. Continued toleration of low salaries by nurses can only serve to augment an already critical nursing shortage. As ICM's Director Sheila Quinn told the ANA convention, the nursing profession will not survive, that's quote, will not survive, end quote, unless pay is improved. ANA members are encouraged to use the mechanisms of their respective occupational sections to effect improvement in employment conditions. All nurses should lend all possible support to any section's efforts to improve its economic status, as this will ultimately be reflected in the economic welfare of the entire profession. Judith Whitaker, RN, Director, American Nurses Association. I would add also to that I was invited to meet with the state private duty chair, and she's not the state parliamentarian, but I believe she was acting on behalf of the state parliamentarian to discuss this telegram. I did not meet with them because it was not convenient. I had 1 or 2 days request to meet with them, and I think that this further exemplifies that our communications are lacking. I believe if you will refer to your minutes of May 9th, or at that time the specific statement was that the private duty section that it be made clear, and it stated that the board did not disapprove of the salary. And I do not know the nature of this telegram, nor what prompted the telegram, or nor the involvement of GSNA as relate to this. But we do have the telegram, which I would share with you.
The state chairman phoned ANA and asked for confirmation of what they thought about it.
Yes, very good. I believe that does circulate all of the communications that I have had, with exception of those that relate to the letters regarding the registry. If you all will just take your time on the communications that are being passed around. I did move through them rather hurriedly, and if you have further information or questions, we can read that. At this time, we have a report of the Secretary. Ms. Alford.
I haven't heard the minutes which you all have approved. You've read all the communications out.
Report of the Treasurer, Ms. Mace.
The annual committee report for the 5th District Georgia State Nurses Association, the Finance Committee. There have been 2 meetings held, one in February and one in August 29, 1966 at 10 a.m. at headquarters, the district headquarters. Ms. Mays, Chairman, was present, Mrs. Langford, Mrs. Oth was representing the proxy. The Ames balanced the budget for 1967 accomplishments. Fifth District has lived within the recommended budget. Problems, membership, pleading with all authority to push membership, publication of the district meter to be withheld until funds permit, suggestions, membership drive for all members in key positions. The budget for the nurses professional register was received and proposed for 1966. I move that this report be accepted. And give a copy to this young lady. Make sure that somebody gets it. Now I'll give the treasury report for the district for July. Due to the long weekend, the August report checks were not back, so I have to give it later. This is the district brought forward from June, $1,429.79. Received membership dues, $194.75. American Journal Nursing, $6. $275. Total $1,630.54. The disbursements, rent, $63.50, salaries, or I'll just give you the total, so you know what all. Rent, salary, telephone, supplies and operations, American Journal Nursing, Internal Revenue, GSMA, and miscellaneous, $1,232.26. And clearing the bank after that was taken out was $398.28. Checks out $663.26. Agrees with the bank statement $1,061.54. Savings on deposit, the Loudoun Federal Savings Loan Company, $4,495.55. That was with August the 1st, 66. I move that this report be accepted.
That's the treasurer's report for July. Is there discussion?
Am I right in thinking that we're practically broke with just about $400 in the bank?
No, the rest of it's in savings. We just leave it there. We made about $158 on interest on it.
I see.
Holding it for interest, just enough to operate on. We'll get by.
What is the amount? I didn't understand the amount in the savings.
She read it, Ms. Payson.
I heard her read it, but I didn't understand.
$4,495.55. That was August the 1st, 66.
Any further questions?
Thank you.
Then it is accepted as written.
The treasury report for July 1966 of the Nurses Professional Register. Brought forward from June, $5,762.97. Bill heads and dues, $487.35. Total, $6,250.32. Disbursements, salaries, telephone, rent, insurance liability, city license renewal, city and county tax, district director and internal revenue, $2,073.30. Totaling, clearing the bank was after the $2,073.30. We have $4,177.02. Checks out $1,485. 29, agrees with the bank statement, $5,662.31. I move this report be accepted.
Is there a discussion or question? And it was accepted and was read for this file. Thank you, Ms. Mays. Report of the Executive Secretary, Ms. Atkins.
Oh, you have written on your little green sheet, so I won't take your time to break down the membership. After the little green sheet was sent in, 3 of those members were cleared, giving us 1,143 with 4 associates. We sent out the 200 notices, and over the weekend, we received 10 renewals. We already had one in hand. So, we still lack some of meeting our quota, but the membership committee are still working on it, and they hope to be able to. There's been added interest there in membership since the union descended upon us, so we're hoping that we will make the quota for the year. We've sent out approximately 500 letters congratulating the new graduates, inviting them to join the association, mailed out to 2,000 directories. And incidentally, we sold $474 in ads on there. The Abbey Rents, I'd like for you to pay particular interest to that. They extended theirs to the 3 pages, so we got the check for it this morning. In fact, we got $249 in checks for that. We've visited the health agencies. We have much material still to be distributed. And we are also in the address graph. The postman came this morning. We will have to have all zip codes, so 700 of ours have been changed this time. We will have them all by the end of the year. The office details have been very heavy. Books are up to date, and it's been a busy year.
You said that 1,144 plus 4 associates is up to date.
Well, I received 10 this morning.
So that makes
Plus 10.
54.
Yes, plus the 4.
This is compared to 1128
Plus
at the end of 1960.
1155 more this year.
So we have 1154.
When you come to the membership report, we do have, and would like the approval to coincide with, conform with the bylaws. The membership committee met on September the 1st, and you have the names here, but when we get to that, Ms. Wood would like us to vote on it.
Thank you. Report of standing committees, program Ms. Hammett.
Madam President, members of the board, it's my pleasure to bring to you the report of a very fine and active committee on program activities. Our determination for the year was to attempt to present to the membership a helpful and meaningful series of programs. We're not able to realize the full fruition of our dream, but we endeavored. We attempted to engage the membership in active participation in the program affairs, and we did have occasions to honor outstanding members of the district. Our accomplishments were realized through the program planning. We had the harvest banquet on November the 18th at the Marriott Hotel Grand Ballroom, which was a beautiful and enjoyable occasion. We had a great number of participants, beautiful music selections, and a nice display of talent by a representative group of students and graduates. We attempted to have for our theme for the year a set of values, and we dwelt on a heritage that is ours as a profession. On January the 13th, we had a proposed planned program, but it did not move as we desired, so the agenda carried the business of the day, and the time was well accounted for. On March the 10th, we had our largest and a very meaningful meeting outside of the commemorative meeting. Green, and we had 4 outstanding people participating. We had the man inner securities dealt with by a chaplain from Georgia Baptist, Robert E. Ballard. The nurses' conferences, and it was timely, so we asked Major Alice Roth of U.S. Army Nurse Corps to make a presentation, and she made a great appeal for nurses in military service. Mr. Jimmy Henderson very ably presented a man's possessions and dealt with insurance plans. And Medicare was presented to us by Mr. Neil Quarles. The month of May had many stimulating activities. The agencies in our district were so very kind and gracious to share with us some clinical sessions. They were well attended principally by the people of the agencies, but most of them were open. There were 11 of these. The Nurse of the Year program on May the 12th at St. Mark's Methodist Church was a beautiful and a very meaningful program. We had an able speaker who attempted to deliver a very helpful address that we spent considerable time on. The decor was beautiful, the committee had been faithful, and we were rewarded with the 3 outstanding nurses selected. Betty Cohen Blake was the Nurse of the Year, and Mabel Corsell with the 2nd award, and Nancy Sale with the 3rd award. The affairs of the committee are still, of course, in a fluid kind of state. There are programs that we have not been able to attend to. We give some assurances we project in the future. We actually had no problems in carrying out our responsibilities. We had maybe difficulties, but not problems. We would suggest that in revising the form that we have presented for the commemorative programs and the clinical sessions, that we make it read one portion organization. A great number of the people that prepared them had a tendency to say, like in room so-and-so, and we wouldn't find out actually that it was at Piedmont or Georgia Baptist or etc. And then we do want to more firmly recommend that we establish a time for the program in the agenda that's in the framework of the bylaws, and try to hold our membership in the auditorium until the program is presented, because it is embarrassing to not be able to render a program to all the members that would profit from it. Now, for recommendations, we would wish to urge that as we project in the future that members serve more than 1 year, if it's possible. And then we have encountered great difficulty in giving ourselves little time engaging the speaker. So in our activities as we project for the future, we would recommend that when you want to use these very outstanding people, they would like to be on our programs, but their calendars are made up months in advance and they have to decline. So it takes much time and much effort to go down a long list of prominent personages to try to get the ones you want. Thank you for this privilege.
You have the recommendation and the form, do you have it in
I do.
writing? Ms. Hammond?
Secretary of Japan, so that's so apt.
Is that a little bar?
Yeah, that's a little foreign.
I think
We have the one recommendation to the executive board, and the program committee, I'll get Ms. Hammond to sign this shortly. One, that members of the committee may serve more than 1 year if feasible, and that speakers be engaged as far in advance as possible. Is there any discussion? All in favor of accepting this recommendation from the program committee, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no.
I don't know if it's what it was coming to add his name. Do you know? Right here.
These are policy recommendations, so it does not,
See, they shall recall the same committee with respect to the chair of the appointed immediately after each annual meeting and serve until the next annual meeting until their appears in the new year. And that's bylaws, and you see, such as this, you can't change it.
I think, I need to refer to our policies. Last year in appointing members of the committee, we did retain, insofar as possible, members who had been on the standing committees before. Is this not correct?
What had been happening, the same committees had been serving for 8 and 9 years, and they advocated that they rotate and keep some of the old members and put on some of the new members. And also, one recommendation they had there was that on the membership committee, and that's been brought out on this one, that the committee just gets organized by the end of the year, that they use the assistant directors of nursing on that group.
According to our bylaws, the first recommendation, though, that members of the committee may serve more than 1 year if feasible, is out of order.
Oh, may I just say something here next to this before we get away and they think they can't do it? If you, those of you who have your bylaws, she's gonna let me explain this just a minute. Look under Article 15, on the standing committees, Section 2. The following standing committees, with the exception of the chairman of the committee on nomination, shall be appointed at or immediately after each annual meeting to serve until the next annual meeting or until their successors are appointed. Now, it says that they, in a sense, this would be you could reappoint, you see.
But
It
that
doesn't say that they can't serve.
That means they'd have to wait till the meeting to appoint committees to do that. to
Uh-huh,
reappoint.
uh-huh. But they could be reappointed. It doesn't say that they can't serve another term. But you can't just come up with something like this, you see, that someone would pick up as a motion to carry through for years from now when it isn't exactly worded in conformity with this. That's the point.
This obviously is the interpretation. If you all recall, last year we attempted to retain a committee member as we appointed these after annual, one member for continuity.
And one new grade. This allows that, but the term is still in there, you see, well, 1 year, but it doesn't say only 1 year. So you can keep some of them on the second year. So since you have that provision already to be used.
And this could be because it says that may serve more if feasible.
So, actually you don't need this because you have it here that they may serve. They just have to be appointed. You can't say now you're going to serve for 2 years. That would be against your bylaw.
Mine would really make sort of a plea to the board.
That is from the program, but can we accept that then as a recommendation from this program committee? We can, that's what they're asking for.
Oh, they can serve.
Well, I
more
know,
than
but they're
one
just
year.
asking us to do that. You mean, you need to take it into consideration, I guess, and do this when we appoint committees.
This is more of a
It's
suggestion
more of
than a recommendation.
of a suggestion to the president, actually, in a sense, as long as it doesn't, and she can do it by the bylaws. That's where we get out of line.
May I ask which one is that again?
Article 15. Section 2. You would have a new board then anyhow, which this meeting would come soon after the election of officers. So couldn't you just refer it to the call meeting at which time? This can be done. What I'm trying to point out is that they can serve another time, but the appointment must follow the annual meeting. In other words, she couldn't go up to, Ms. Alford and say, you are appointed on this committee for 2 years. She can appoint her this year, and next year she may appoint her again, you see, to serve again. And in that way, it could be. Actually, you were talking about you need your limitation in that no one may serve on the same committee for more than so many years, because this would allow the reappointment, you see. Your bylaws now do.
Well, this would be, though, reading this again, would be in conflict, because it says that members may serve more than 1 year if feasible, which is in conflict. They may be reappointed with our present bylaws.
So we can't
So
vote on
we
it.
cannot accept this recommendation. Ms. Hammond, do you include this in your suggestions? We could accept this in the suggestions of your annual report, and that'll be sure to get it under advisement. And then speakers be engaged as far in advance as possible. And this, certainly understanding of both of these recommendations, I think the board also has much understanding that qualified speakers need to have some. So we do have the recommendation that speakers be engaged as far as in advance as possible. Any discussion of this recommendation? Then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. And this recommendation is carried. And we'll pass this back to Ms. Hammond. Ms. Hammond, thank you for that report, those recommendations, suggestions. Next, we have the printing, Ms. Hammond.
We have had no meetings because we've had no printing except the directory, the 2000, and also the schedule cards. As you know, the meter was withheld due to limitation of funds.
Bylaws, Ms. Hudson.
The Committee on Bylaws has held one meeting, and the aims of the committee is stated in the bylaws. The annual report is as follows. The Committee on Bylaws held one meeting during the year with 8 members present. 3 communications from 5th District sections were considered. The private duty section requested the bylaw committee to consider an increase in dues which would enable all members to support the cost of the operation of the Professional Nurses Registry as a community service. The ACP and the Public Health sections recommended that the district bylaws stay as presently written. After discussion, the committee reached a consensus that any changes in the district bylaws prior to the ANH biennial would be inappropriate. The Committee on Bylaws was requested to meet with the study committee on structure to discuss the proposed changes in the structure of A&A. The chairman contacted the chairman of the study committee but found that a joint meeting was not possible. The public health section presented in July a rewrite of their section rules, that was after following the meeting, of their section rules, which only called for one change that is, providing for a second vice chairman. The few other changes were of an editorial nature. There were so many committee members on vacation that it was not possible to obtain a quorum before September 1st. The 5th District Section Rule states in Article 12, Section 3, that officers of the section shall be a chairman, first vice chairman, a second vice chairman, and a secretary. It is necessary to include a second vice chairman in the public health section's rules to bring them into conformity with the 5th District bylaws. And there is one recommendation, and the recommendation is that since there is no conflict with the public health section's proposed rewrite of their rules and the bylaws of the 5th District and the state bylaws, the chairman, now I've not had a committee meeting, but the chairman of the bylaw committee requests the executive board of the 5th District to grant permission to the public health section to present the rewrite of their section rules to their members in October. And I move that.
I'll second it.
We've had a motion and second for the public health bylaws to be rewritten in conformity.
Excuse me, those, I don't know that it makes any difference, but that's rules. Public health rules.
Yes, rules, correct. Thank you, Ms. Hazel. Rules be rewritten in conformity with the bylaws of the district.
Well,
Is-
Excuse me, I believe what we're wanting, and I believe this is what Ms. Hudson says, that we be allowed, we've already rewritten them and had submitted them, you see, for approval, that we be allowed to present them to our section for approval in October. We couldn't do that, of course, until the bylaws committee and this board approved them.
And
They have been
it's
rewritten.
not in conflict, because the bylaws of the district actually says they must have a second vice chairman, but they've never had it, and they've been out of step with the
We
bylaws.
just were trying to bring the rules into conformity.
And it is needed at this time to bring it to their membership so that they can vote on it in October. And then they'll be in conformity with the district bylaws.
Ms. Hudson, their rules calls for this.
The
The
5th
presented
District
copy-
bylaws calls
yes,
for it.
but the copy they presented
Yes,
to you
the
did.
rewrite
Right.
proposed a second
Very
vice
good.
chairman and a few editorial changes. And we've not had a committee, I'd like to get the parliamentarians' viewpoint of this, because we've not had a committee meeting. I couldn't get a quorum of the bylaw committee. It's a rather large committee. And we haven't been, everybody's on vacation. And I never could find a time when there was enough of them in town to have a committee meeting. But since this is really a procedural matter and does not in any way conflict with the bylaws, but rather bringing the rules into agreement with the district bylaws, I would make this recommendation that they be permitted to go ahead and vote on it, if that's all right.
I had a copy too, and I've gone over it, and they actually are bringing them up.
That's right.
I mean.
And
what-
then it
I
would
don't
be in
think-
order
oh,
for me as
I
chairman
think
just
you-
to make
you
that
ask
recommendation.
chairman to get it so they can take it to them, and then of course
Well,
you
that's-
have to let your committee know what you've done.
Yes, well, my report, of course, will stand and contain just as I read. Thank you.
Is there further discussion to this motion? All in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no. Then it is accepted as proposed. that was your only recommendation, was it not, Ms.
Yes.
Hudson? Thank you for that.
And we are not, the committee, of course, met before the biennial. And, the consensus was that anything would be inappropriate any change in the bylaws would be inappropriate before the biennial because there were such extensive changes in the A&A bylaws. But to date, we've had nothing from A&A. Am I right? I've not had a thing. And so therefore, it would still be inappropriate to bring any changes in the bylaws at this time, or recommend any.
Thank you very much. Finance, Ms. Mays.
Pass those down on your side. Madam Chairman, the only change in the bylaws, or that is in the budget for next year, for the 5th district, we'll take that first before we turn over on the other pages. We have put in an extra $50 for the president and the secretary for their expenses here in the city or going to meetings and for parking and whatnot that you have to spend, because parking has gone up so terrifically and so has food that the finance committee felt it was necessary. But the budget stands as it's been last year, other than that one change. I move this report be accepted.
Second motion.
Are there, Pam, if there's any questions?
Is there a discussion or questions regarding the proposed budget 1967
For the 5th district.
for 5th district? Ms. Mace, I might speak to this. I did not receive, but I did discuss with the chairman of the Careers Committee, Mrs. Lane. I believe that's her
She
chair.
sent a report here.
Did you receive the report
Yes.
regarding the Nurse of the Year awards? And I believe her committee did have some recommendations regarding that might involve budget. If this is the appropriate time. Again, this is a recommendation from the chair rather than the committee. She would like to suggest the selection of the Nurse of the Year. I would like to suggest that selection of Nurse of the Year be discontinued. The innumerable problems involved in the selection makes this reward most difficult and causes nominees to feel ill at ease I believe all nominees have been fine nurses who deserve recognition. However, we could do it nicely without it. She did discuss with me at the time her committee was working some of the problems and was going to discuss further with the committee. However, I see that this is a suggestion, really. It is not a recommendation. So,
That item,
Well, I move that we just leave it stand as it is. And,
unless we have
the
something.
money will be there if it's not used, and whoever
I had
makes out
thought
the
we had a
report, yeah,
recommendation.
whoever makes out the report next year will have that much more to work with.
just to,
Is there further comments or discussion? And all in favor of the proposed budget 1966, 5th District GSNA, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, no.
Madam President, 1967.
Excuse me. 1967. Are we all clear? This is next year's budget, 5th District. Thank you.
Now, the last page, I think we take that first, and then we'll come back to the other. This is the proposed budget that we used for the last 4 months of the year for continuing the register, and when we asked for the grant or donation or whatever you want to call it. And our chairman of the headquarters will go into detail on that. But that is what this last page is for the last 4 months. Now, the proposed budget for the nurses professional register. The only new addition there is we just tried to make provisions that if we carry on, they would be an answering service if we did not have a night registrar, just to find out that in the future if a night registrar was needed. And we just put it into the budget, so if they want to use it, that it would be in the budget for next year. And everything else stands. Of course, we know the Social Security has gone up and like that, but this is just in keeping with the government.
I'd like to ask, how many members do you anticipate that you will have in the,
We don't have any anticipation, Ms. Hudson, with the present standing. This is only being presented to the board, that is if we have an official register.
you don't know how many members you're going to have?
How would you know,
How
Ms.
could we?
Hudson?
We don't, we
we do know this year how many we'd have.
well,
Hasn't been sent out. They have
no.
proposed the number of members they're going to have.
in preparing a budget, it seems to me, I may be entirely wrong, and if I am, I'll be glad to be called out of order. But it appears to me that in preparing a budget, you would have to anticipate a certain number of members in order to prepare that budget.
You
And if you, that was my question. And if that's wrong, then I'm wrong, and I'll apologize for it.
I'm not saying you're wrong, Miss Hudson, but the point is this. When you go over that slip that Miss Atkins sent out of the members that did not pay dues, private duty nurses that did not pay dues even into the district,
Well, let's figure and see how many members
So,
we have to have in
you
order
can
to
see
raise
where a
that
great
amount.
many of your private duty nurses stand. They're going where they don't have to pay dues or anything. So that is just a good, example. And this budget is
If we
only,
adopt this budget, though, we are responsible for it. And if we adopt it and don't have the anticipated revenue to cover it, then this board will be
Well-
responsible for it.
we will get the money like we've got it this time, if we have it.
I beg your pardon?
That is, we've had to get money this time to continue. And under the present, conditions, no one can say if they will be arrested.
Well, I don't know why we're voting on it then.
With a great many saying they don't want it and doing everything they can to destroy it.
Well, maybe it'd be a good idea to wait till January and see if we're gonna have one. If the hospitals are not gonna use
Well,
it.
but this is supposed to be put in now.
Yes,
That's
it's in
the
order
reason
to
why it's
present it at
prepared.
this time, but I'm just wondering if we wouldn't need to qualify it some way here, because if we adopt this and then we don't have the members to support it, then this board is going, might be held, responsible for it.
I kind of agree here because, you know, at our last meeting and all of our discussion about making some changes and the fact that we were already obligated and we couldn't make them this year, but what about next year? If we adopt this, we will be in the same position. And we had discussed several specific changes that aren't made here or are not proposed in this. I can understand why they wouldn't be proposed, but at the same time, I can understand why did we go through all that at the
May I
last board
ask,
meeting? When we talked about rent and moving the place, and we talked about
That's right.
using an answering service in place of registrars, and we talked about so many changes that would actually affect this very budget. We talked about all those things. Well, why did we do all that if we're going to sit here and adopt this budget then and tie ourselves down for another year?
I haven't asked you to
Oh, I
adopt
know
it.
you haven't. I'm just saying.
I want to ask our parliamentarian how we can handle this to our president, that if that,
378 right now.
how can we handle it?
Ms. Mays has not, moved that we adopt.
I know,
this.
I'm not
She has
saying
simply
she did, I just said,
discussed it.
should we, because
At this point,
We need to do whatever we need to do, let's do it
Well,
right, so we'll
we
have
can-
something.
we can adopt this with a proviso. Now, at our last call meeting, we did request the registry committee to look at cutting costs and this type of thing. I believe you people operate on the fact that we should be preparing a budget assuming that. Is that right, Ms. Mays?
This board did not authorize me not to bring a budget,
That's correct.
and I brought it. Now, you can do anything with it you want to do with it.
If it's the board's wish, we can adopt it.
I'd have been glad not to have wasted my time, because I feel your time's wasted. When you take
Well, it
ours.
isn't time wasted, Miss Mace, anyone will know that, and I don't think any of us feel that it's time wasted, and we appreciate what you've done. But I just say we need to have some proviso.
Well, let's leave it up to our
qualification.
parliamentarian.
All right.
You must spell out your proviso as to how you're going to adopt with this provision, in other words.
We adopt this provision, adopt this budget, provided we have 400 members at the beginning of January 1966.
You did last year make the same provision of the district that it be reviewed in June to see
Yes,
how
but it
it's
wasn't
going.
reviewed in June.
Well, we had it.
Well, we had no report of it if it was reviewed.
It was
We had
reviewed
no
and
report.
we had the money. We had the money to continue through the year and have a little left over. It was reviewed in
Now,
June.
that's the district budget.
it's fair,
That's the
your money is
registered
fair,
money.
you've lived within the budget of the district.
We had to
No,
get more
No,
money.
I'm talking about the registry. I'm talking about registry, I'm talking about the district.
We
No,
talking
we're not
about
really talking about
registry.
register. The
We made a
district's
provision on the district. Ms. Hudson's motion was that it be reviewed in June, so couldn't your same provision be made now, that it be reviewed at that time?
Well, it ought not to wait till June, should it?
I don't, I feel that we should
First point to think about, I guess maybe our financial year starts the 1st of January, and dues go for the registrants in the registry from the 1st of January to the 1st of January the next year, don't they?
That's right.
And if we take dues from even 24 members and can't promise them a registry throughout the year, then what will our position be? It seems to me that we need to maybe poll the membership and find out how many anticipate using the services of the registry next year in order to intelligently plan a budget or adopt a budget.
Well, the members couldn't help you very much, Ms. Wells, unless, if all the hospitals are gonna have their own registry, then what's the use of belonging to the nurses registry?
Well, then
don't always
the
feel that
membership
way.
is whatever the
Yeah, they do.
membership.
Most of them work in one hospital or two hospitals, and why pay their $50 to the registry if they're gonna have to pay it to the
If we
hospital?
poll
I
it-
understand the hospitals will charge.
We need to know how many would, if the registry is available, how many
I
would
don't think you'd find
want
many
to
if
service.
the
Well,
hospitals
then
won't
we
set up their own.
would know
Do you?
before the
Well,
1st
we'll
of the
get
year.
enough dues, don't you think, Darren? We'll get enough dues on the 1st of January to carry us for 3 months. And
But-
then have this budget brought back to this board.
But then anybody that pays it for the year,
We'll be obligated to give them service for a year, and we might not be able to do that.
it's set up in the bylaws.
What's that?
We've got our bylaws to consider, because the registry is set up in the bylaws. And you need to take care of whatever revision is made in this annual meeting. Wouldn't you?
I think Ms. Wells' poll
Oh,
idea is a
the
very
bylaws
good
say they
idea.
needed the annual or regular.
Yeah, our bylaws can be amended in there. It'll take 400 members in order to carry this budget, and a little bit over.
unless we raise the dues.
How many we have there now?
We have 270 RNs, 88 practical nurses, and 10 undergraduates. Maybe it would help to solve the problem if I could give my report, and then people could make then they could talk about this some more.
Can we, delay this, is this in keeping with the board's request? And after you give your report, I have been contacted by the people at Community Council too. So, maybe this would help their thinking somewhat.
First of all, I think I'll just read the report, and then I can only read sections from some communication, and you'll understand why when I read the report. There was a special call meeting of the Registry Committee, 5th District, GSNA, August the 9th at 4 p.m. at Ponce de Leon Infirmary to discuss the management of the registry, the dangers of a decentralized placement service beyond the control of the ethical standards of the Professional Nurses Organization are well known to the Medical Society, the Atlanta Area Council, the general public, and to all nurses, and I should have added hospital administrators. Our objectives are outlined by ANA, and they remain the same: that of the public for safe nursing care, that of the community for nursing distribution center, that of nurses for the call service for private duty nurses, for a center for the listing of all types of nursing positions, and for counseling regarding personal and professional problems.
We discussed the financial difficulties of the registry at our last meeting and were reminded, and I'm talking about the board meeting now, we were reminded that we were legally bound to keep the registry open through December 31st, 1966. It was mutually agreed that the same persons on the board who had been working towards a solution to our financial problems continued to work in an effort to save the registry. This was not a committee. Only interested board members who had the proper connections to jointly culminate a solution to our financial problem. As a result, we have a grant of $8,000 through the Community Council of the Atlanta Area Incorporated. In accordance with policy of the foundation, it is requested that no publicity be given to the source of the grant. Quoting from the A&A Registry Manual, the Board of Directors and the membership of a district should give careful consideration to the establishment of a professional registry. Once established, it is the responsibility of the Board of Directors and all members to promote the registry and give it full support. For the first time in our 50 years of service, we are now approved by the Atlanta Area Council as a necessary community service. And this is the letter that was written to Dr. Williams, who's director of the Hospital and Health Planning Department Community Council of the Atlanta Area Incorporated. Dear Dr. Williams, we are so grateful for your consideration of the threat to safe patient care that could occur through the loss of the 5th District Nurses Professional Registry, which has served this community for more than 50 years on a non-profit basis. Enclosed is the requested itemized account of the minimum emergency maintenance funds needed to keep the registry in operation through December 31st, 1966. And that's that last page that Ms. Mace gave you here on the budget. This does not include a night registrar, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., or a holiday relief registrar. The service of the night registrar was eliminated for the first time effective on August the 2nd, 1966. It is hoped that answering service may be utilized for the replacement of the night registrar. And this is, as Ms. Mace said, only on a trial basis to see if it's necessary. The total required is $7,905, which includes August expenses amounting to $2,054. A grant of $8,000 has been requested, and it is our understanding that such a sum may be available. This being true, we would like the amount of $2,000 to be deposited on the first of the remaining 4 months, September through December, to the regular checking account of the Nurses Professional Registry, account number 0677164. Please send directly to the mail teller, the Citizens and Southern National Bank, Main Branch, Marietta and Broad Streets, Atlanta, Georgia, 30303. A monthly financial statement covering expenditures will be forwarded to your office. We appreciate the fine cooperation of the Community Council in meeting this critical need. Very truly yours, Edith Honeycutt. This is just a paragraph taken from a letter from Dr. Williams. And the reason that I can't read the whole letter is that it would divulge the foundation, and we cannot do that. It is recognized that any area, this is what Dr. Williams says, as large as the Atlanta metropolitan area should have a central registry for nurses. Such a registry must be developed on a sound financial basis. It is recommended that maintenance funds be allotted to the proper officials of this registry on an emergency basis only. so as to keep it in operation until permanent policies and methods of financing can be worked out. This matter has been discussed with Dr. Napier Burson, Jr., Chairman of the Hospital and Health Committee of the Community Council of the Atlanta area. Dr. Burson is appointing an area health needs committee composed of physicians and members of hospital governing boards who will study this problem and make appropriate recommendations. As soon as the committee completes a study of this matter, you will be advised as to their recommendations.
Does that mean an 8,000 grant is approved?
Yes, by telephone.
It's not approved, the money is already
Yeah, given.
available.
Yeah, it's already
The money has been provided to the community council.
yes, and it's through the community
And
council.
it's through the community council. And Dr. Williams, if I can take
Yeah.
that from here and finish out, Dr. Williams apparently at the same time appointed Mr. Joe Taylor of Community Council, and Dr. Napier Burson apparently appointed a committee which Dr. John Wilson would chair, and both of them called me the same day. I did meet with Mr. Taylor, Mr. Joe Taylor, with the Community Council, and I believe that he has been instructed to pay a monthly, submit the payment for the August expenditures, but has been charged with the responsibility of having a committee to make recommendations on Dr. Williams' behalf as relates to the Community Council. Mr. Taylor's recommendation was that there be a committee, the chair of the private duty section, the chair of the registry committee, and Dr. John Wilson, by nature of his having been appointed, and I believe Mr. Thrasher was being asked to have a hospital administrator to also be on this committee. So the Community Council is involved to make recommendations for continued operation of a registry and to appropriate monies from the grant for the remainder of the year. I believe that's where we're to at this point.
These are some of the things that the registry committee has talked about. Because of all the confusion, we haven't been able to do any real constructive things. We began, but we stopped. But some of the aims and some of the things that we've talked about are as follows, but these are only talked about. Nothing's been voted or anything. We've just discussed these things. First of all, we'd like to get all the private duty nurses back on the registry. We hope the registry committee will meet each month. We hope to have a meeting with all the nursing service directors, the registry committee, to talk about policies that the hospital administrators feel that they would set up if they had their own registries, to see if we could compromise and if we could set up some policies that would satisfy all people. We've discussed about the chevrons and the LPNs, and of course, since we don't know what's going to happen, someone said the other day all this had been voted and that they see the LPNs and the practical nurses and the licensed undergraduates still without the chevrons. Well, it's needless to say we couldn't buy chevrons when we didn't know whether the registry would continue to operate. Also, the problem has been brought up about billheads since the raise. Of course, we could not have new billheads printed without the approval of the board, and it seems that some people have been printing billheads, and they have been sold and passed around, but of course they don't have the official registry on it. And then, in order to cover the critically ill, we have discussed drawing up self-evaluation forms for private duty nurses so that the nurse can evaluate herself to see in what area she has needs, so that we can have programs in our section meetings, or we can have in-service programs in the hospitals to fill the critically ill patients. And I passed around pamphlets about the private duty nurse, and I circled on there over on one place where it says how private duty nurses are paid. There will be a premium for hours beyond the 8-hour day and for competencies in specialized areas of nursing practice. And to me, this has to do with what we were talking about, levels of nursing. There have been so many questions about levels of nursing, but that's been brought out too already today in a communication. But I just thought it would be interesting to people to know really and truly what private duty nurses are supposed to be. And if you look at this sheet on these calls filled, if you really just look at it and you think how few nurses there were who filled all of these calls, when you take 270 nurses, that's not, they can't cover around the clock more than 90 critically ill patients from the registry. And the calls on these sheets represent how many calls actually were filled from the few nurses that we have actually had to fill them. And it does seem sometimes that the registry may not be filling as many calls as they could fill, but when you think of the numbers that they have to work with, it appears from this report that they've done a pretty good job. I have here another communication, and I may have to ask the parliamentarian about this because I just received this, and I don't know, I know this is to go to the registry committee. It should go before it comes to us, but because of the nature of the letter, I just wondered if it wouldn't be well to bring it up at this time. I do not know Miss Florence Duffy. Do you know her?
Who's that?
Miss Florence, Mrs. Florence Duffy. She's an older nurse. She paid her dues last year and only worked a few days. This year she's paid her dues again, and she has worked absolutely none, and she needs the money. She called me, and I asked her to write me a letter and that I would bring it to the board, since we would not have a registry committee meeting before such time. And if this is out of order, then she'll just have to wait for her money until we have a registry committee meeting and bring a recommendation and do it according to the bylaws that way.
The bylaws say no refunds because you're working on a budget there.
Well, let me read the letter to you. It said, yesterday I went to the nurses.
Where does it say?
May I read the letter? Yesterday I went to the nurses registry, talked to Miss Kellum. She advised me to write to you and ask for a refund for my dues. She said it would have to go before the board. I haven't worked any this year. It is on account of my doctor's advice. I would appreciate your doing this for me at your next meeting. Many thanks. She explained to me over the phone that she is in need of the money. She is an older nurse and not able to work.
Well, isn't it the rules that specify, not the bylaws? The rules of the registry.
Chairman, it has been done though before, when somebody was in dire need and ill and not able to
She is.
work, that we have voted to refund them.
I think the board has that prerogative to do that if they wish to.
Well, of course, I can't make a recommendation, so somebody else would have to make it. And then I have another thing here that's very sad to me. This
Miss
is,
Honeycutt, let's get this.
oh, excuse
motion
me, I'm sorry.
So that there's further discussion.
Florence Duffy.
Yes, Mrs. Florence Duffy, D-U-F-F-Y.
Miss Honeycutt, Miss May sees her every morning in church. Knows her condition, financial status.
And she needs it.
I don't feel that Miss Duffy's a poor person at all. But of course, now that's my thoughts. That doesn't have anything to do with
Well,
money being refunded to her.
according to what she said to me on the phone, but then I'm an easy mark. Always have been.
You admit it.
Yes, sir. Take the bread out of my mouth and give it to somebody.
A lot of us like that.
While we're getting the motion, you've heard the motion that the registry dues be refunded from Miss Duffy. It's been moved and seconded. Is there a discussion? All in favor of this motion, which I will read once again, that the 1966 registry dues be refunded to Mrs. Florence Duffy due to ill health and no cause being granted. Motion made by Ms. Dixon, seconded by Ms. Zerbs. All in favor, please indicate aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
She is in poor health, I will say that.
But not. Does she have income other than what she's worked for?
Pardon?
Does she have income other than the money that she's worked for from private duty?
It's just, you got the motion in, so let's somebody take care of it.
Ms. Honeycutt, did you have other?
Yes, I have a long communication that I won't, of course, even read, but I'll just bring you up to date. This is about Miss Willina Orton, who was our night registrar, who went down to Warm Springs. She went in April the 8th, and she was dismissed on August the 28th. And the whole time that she was down there, this whole report is just filled with the things that the doctors said about how that, how remarkable and how hard she worked, because she thought her job would be here for her when she came back. And of course, long before her treatment was finished, we knew that there would, what was happening to the registry, and that there would would not be a night registrar, and she was not told about it. But the fact is that she is out, and this information was sent to me, and I assume that it should be given to the district to place on file. However, I took a course out at the Briarcliff Rehabilitation Center for Alcoholics some time ago, and there was a state rehabilitative man who was in the class too, and it would seem to me that if some of us appeal to the right people, that maybe we could help her to find some employment, even though she can't function in the capacity we have no capacity at the registry for her. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think that this vocation rehabilitation certainly should be contacted by someone, and you as chairman.
I'll be glad to do it, Ms.
of the
Hudson,
register committee.
because I know him.
Wouldn't she be able to do it
Madam
herself?
Chairman,
Well,
I
she
believe
could.
Ms. Honeycutt talked with me about that over the phone this morning, and it really is pitiful. She says that she's just about ready to give up, and yet she works so hard, and I think we really ought to strive to try to do something to get her some kind of work if we can.
You know Mr. You know Mr. Hackney.
Hackney, he's not the one that I
Did
know.
it tell what progress you have made?
Yes, she's made wonderful progress. It does say in that she's that she can stand erect and stand
That's what
alone.
she could do.
She has to wear her braces in order to walk, but she's just made remarkable progress, and they are very pleased. She's lost 40 pounds. They said that was the thing that was so much against her, was her weight and arthritis.
Do you have her telephone number and address?
It's in your
It's in
your directory.
Does
the
anyone
direct-
in this group know
and that's
how
correct?
you go about contacting?
Unless she's changed it,
The
it's
re-
supposed to be correct.
I'll find out.
Are
And
you
I'll
thinking
call.
about contacting them for further rehabilitation or for
For employment, I'm
Yeah.
talking about vocational.
Yes, you're not just
Vocational
speaking of
rehabilitation.
physical rehabilitation now.
Vocational rehabilitation.
Well, that,
They
of course,
find
comes
work
under the
for
Department of
them.
Education, you know.
Yeah, this man, I can't think of his name, but I'm sure I have his card at home.
Well, the reason I asked for a name and address, the Georgia Baptist alumni will be glad to do something to tide her over.
She says it's right there, Miss.
Ms. Honeycutt, those people work on a geographical basis too. They have an area like, I know a man that works in Buckhead. And so it depends on
Well,
where
she
she
was
lives
so
as to
grateful
who
when
you
she was
contact
allowed to go
directly.
down to the
Well, now,
It's better if she does it if she
Yes, she
can.
does.
Yeah, if she does it herself, she'll get a lot more.
Well,
But you can give her the boost that she needs to do it.
well now maybe, who is a real good friend of hers that maybe it would help more for them to talk to her than
That's
it
right,
would be for
somebody
me,
could
maybe.
encourage her to do it, but she needs to do it herself.
Sure.
Yeah,
Encourage her to do what?
To
Go in the
contact
bathroom?
vocational rehabilitation for some rehab on vocation, see, not so much her physical rehabilitation now, but something to do. It would sort of depend on what area of the city she lives in as to who it would be.
Well, didn't she used to live on McClendon? Or somewhere
isn't
down
her
there?
address there, Miss Hudson?
Where she lives.
In her address there?
Yes.
What is her address? That's what they were asking.
2116 McClendon,
I thought it was
McClendon Avenue. I don't know the telephone number, but I'll
It's
find
down
it.
there on the bottom.
21
They got phone listed.
If you call vocational rehab, they'll tell you the name of the person in that area. And then this makes it a little easier for her to do the contacting if she's got a
Vocational.
name to call, see. You look
That's
under.
in DeKalb, she would go through DeKalb.
Well, the Georgia Baptist Hospital
that's
Alumni
direct on the
Association will
state
be glad
basis.
to assist in any way possible, and we will make contact with her and see if there's anything we can do for her. President Howard.
Ms. Honeycutt, you're going to assume the responsibility for finding who she would contact and be in touch with her.
Yes.
All right. Is there further, did you have further business, Ms. Honeycutt, to present
No.
to us? Now that, I suppose we need to come back to our proposed budget. Ms. Mapes, just one moment. Of course, Mr. Taylor has asked that the persons that I have listed, the chair of private duty, the chair of registry committee, Dr. Wilson, who has been appointed by Dr. Williams apparently, and that Mr. Thrasher be appointed to, or asked to appoint a hospital administrator. I really, Mr. Taylor is within his prerogative to pursue this now. He has a responsibility, but I do need the board's endorsement that his selection, or we certainly, I believe that this board may recommend different persons. He asked, after talking with me, who would be the people. And of course, that I have felt for continued registry, either under professional registry with any funds or community registry operated by the community. And his first thought is whether or not the community council will. And I had felt and said it to him that it seemed that the people that were more closely affiliated with private duty nurses should be the people represented. And he said from time to time I would be involved as president of the district, and since we are now charged with the responsibility of operating the registry.
Who did Mr. Taylor suggest on that committee?
He asked for he asked how it's now operated, and the board is charged with the responsibility, and that there is a representation on the board from chair of the private duty. So he suggested that this person, the registry committee chairman, since Dr. John Wilson had been appointed by Dr. Napier Burson, that this person be from the medical society, and that Mr. Thrasher be asked to.
I wondered why you wanted another administrator. He's an administrator himself. I guess
he's
he
assigned
has
to the
his own
community
reasons
council,
for doing
is
it.
he not? And
Yeah,
he
that's
was
right.
given this responsibility by Dr. Williams, I believe.
What we have to do, we have to vote on this committee then?
No, he has the prerogative. This is for his, I'm needing to share with the board his selection and get any ideas that I may take back to him or should take back to
We don't really
him
do anything
from
about
the
it.
board.
Move that the board approve the chairman of the private youth section and the chairman of the register committee to serve jointly on the community council.
Madam President, let's just hold this budget to the January meeting, and maybe at that time there would be meetings and we'd know more about it, instead of getting it.
The community council is involved, and because the grant has been given to them to for an emergency basis to run the registry and to look into
Future needs.
continued funds and our operation of the community council. Now, I did, and I would be honest with you, I did say that if Mr. Thrasher could be encouraged, since Piedmont too has their registry, maybe if Mr. Summerlin, these people have had their registry for the longest, that maybe Mr. Summerlin might be involved. And, but that's entirely up to Mr. Thrasher, who has this prerogative and is invited.
Don't
One-
you think
one-
they'd like to have this as our suggestion maybe of need?
I think if we gave them something, they mentioned on
go
here, a
on.
sound method of providing broad financial support for the operation of the registry should be developed, approved, and placed in operation. They haven't told us if the community council doesn't give money, but they have told us they would make every assistance for us all to get together, works for the community need of giving good nursing care and providing a good central register with all hospitals, everybody participating. And that they have indicated that they would give financial assistance there and helping us carry it through altogether.
Well, is it, in order, Madam Chairman, to suggest additions to this committee? For this board
He
to
was-
suggest additions to this committee?
He was very positive in what he wanted, I believe. We might ask and make suggestions.
Well, I thought the point that you brought out was very good. I think someone else, Ms. Atkins, brought it out, I believe. Let's get these people on that committee that who are operating their own registries.
Yes, sir.
I'd
Well,
like to
the
get Ms.
hospital
Peeble on that.
administrator would be involved from the hospital administrator that's represented.
Now, that represents all the hospitals in the city. Is that right?
He will be appointed from the Atlanta Hospital Council.
Well, I think that those hospitals which are operating their own registry, then their administrator,
They
if
would
they
be-
served on this committee, maybe they could see the need of having the services of the registry as a community project.
Ms. Hudson, they plan to bring them all in on it.
Yes.
This big committee be the steering committee, but bring all of them in, all of the administrators and all the nursing services.
I've spoken to the powers that be over at George Baptist. I don't know whether they announced anything or not.
There would be medical society
But I think that
representation. and
all
he
these
said-
people ought to be brought in on this thing and let them know that this is not, this is a community service. It's not just a little 2-before thing at all.
And it's not just private duty,
No.
it's everybody.
Now, private duty's been paying the bills.
This
They
may
sure
not-
have,
Madam
Ms.
Chairman, this
Hudson.
may not be the time to say this, but I wanna ask again, because we did send a recommendation to the bylaws committee asking that, that it is a community service, and that even if we have to raise dues, that let a portion of everybody's dues in the organization go towards helping to pay expense of the registry, professional registry. And if we are gonna assume our citizens' responsibility to the community, and all nurses, I think, would have to agree, or will agree, that it is a community service, that I still think that a portion of all of Fifth District's dues should go and be prorated out to help operate this registry.
May I make one suggestion on that? Since I did talk to them, and Dr. Williams, both over the telephone and in person, I believe that if we went ahead and approved a budget of what we think we're going to need, that they would go ahead and help us meet that budget. If we set a goal for it, and of course, if we find that we don't meet it by the 1st of April and that we haven't had provisions, we feel reasonably sure that the provisions are going to be made.
You know, is reasonably sure enough to go into some
That's
big
right.
business adventure of
Right.
this kind. We were reasonably sure.
Enough so that they gave us
Reasonably sure it's a
8,000 to
good
keep it
basis for
open.
business.
Enough so that they gave us 8,000 to keep it open,
I know they did, but they said for 4
and
more
said if we
months.
needed more, if we got into too much trouble, to let them know.
Well,
Yeah,
obviously,
in the
that's a
letter,
good
they
discussion,
said
but
that
it's not a
verbally,
good
Ms.
basis
Atkins,
for
but in the
business.
letter, they reminded us this was a one-time.
Well, that letter,
Yes, that's what I'm thinking, they're not going to go back and give any money, just to put it in revenue.
that letter, whoever wrote the letter was told later that they really didn't mean that. Then we got the tight to let them know.
But why couldn't we raise each district dues, all of our dues, say 2?
I think all the nurses ought to participate in that.
Besides, let the private duty pay to the registry. I
Madam
understand.
Chairman, I don't think this is the time to discuss that until we know whether we're gonna have one or not. And until this meeting, that we've just been discussing is held, and then bring it back to the board, even if you have to call a, meeting to get down and see
Let's bring
what
it
you
back
want
to the
do.
next board meeting. In that time, they will have had time to meet. Well, is that possible?
He was going to call the meeting, and I don't know when. I don't.
Well, perhaps
But,
they will have met
next board
before the
meeting-
next board meeting.
November, isn't it?
Yes,
Yes.
we should know
Yes.
something by November.
Let's,
Let's consider it again in November.
I have a motion, but I would have to rule this. Really, we cannot, I was needing just your endorsement. We cannot say to Mr. Taylor who he requests, he may decide later he wants someone else.
Change it to say it.
And,
Just change to endorse.
all right.
I thought that was what you wanted, was
That
that
the board-
the board endorse
That the board endorse
the appointment.
the appointment.
Well, at the committee, bylaw committee meeting, when this matter was brought up, it was felt very strongly by those attending that committee that it would mean a loss of membership to the district to increase those dues. And we did not reach a decision as was indicated in the report. It was just that we not make any changes until we know what the changes are going to be in A&A and so on. We may have to have a pretty large increase in dues for the A&A structure, most likely.
All right, we have the motion. I move that the board endorse the chairman of the private duty section and chair of the register committee serve jointly on the community council committee, may I have committee? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. You seconded? Ms. Hudson. Is there any further discussion on this?
Madam Chairman, I'm wondering about the possibilities. It seems to be thought that the community council might possibly be continuing to support or finance a registry. Then will it be operated by the council or under the rules and regulations?
This is the purpose of the committee.
It is the
It is
purpose.
the purpose of his committee to try to, he will make recommendations.
Then the 5th District will no longer have,
Yes,
They
we
don't
will.
want
Now,
the,
let me say this, that the community
they don't
planning
want
council,
the
they don't have
register.
any money.
They don't want
They
it.
don't
They
want
do
the
not
register.
have any money at all, and they cannot support anything, so therefore they're not asking to run anything.
We
I
don't
don't
want them
think
to
you
do
need to have
that.
any fears on that. And the only reason to have this money, it was given through that as repository, as a tax-free,
That's right, and so
exemption.
that it could be anonymous.
yes.
But there is the possibility that they secure more funds. Was that not the
Yes.
interpretation?
Yes.
But they
But
help us
that,
to
we
work
they
out.
need
can't,
help.
we shouldn't rest on that, we should need a little bit more business-like approach to it than just to say, well, we'll let them go ahead and carry us, but I'm sure the registry committee will
We
study
won't do that, Miss, we won't do that.
Madam Chairman, wouldn't it, I feel
Did you
that a
call-
committee,
I thought she called the question
No,
on
she
this.
She had
one.
already said, Madam
I
Chairman.
feel that perhaps if a special committee was set up by the board to call on the hospitals who have set up registries and appeal to these people, with the help of the registry committee, that we might, by the 1st of January, get these nurses back into the private duty registry.
That's what the council had proposed doing.
That's right.
Through the hospital administrators and through the hospital association, that all of them meet and all
Nursing
give
service.
full support from everybody in the
Something
community.
somewhere along the way,
Well, that-
in the last few years, has gone wrong in the registry.
That is our proposal, that
We
they get all
haven't had this
hospitals.
trouble before, and I've been in this district for a long, long time, like a lot of the others. And I feel like that somewhere along the way, there evidently is some misunderstanding. And I think that,
Some misunderstandings and understatement.
and I believe that this is not a problem that couldn't be straightened out with a little effort. And we've got to give, we've got to take to do this. And I think now's the time for us to take a good look at all of ourselves and go in and see what we can do about the matter, because Atlanta can't do without the private duty registry. Neither can the private duty nurses, and if you want quality nursing, you will have to have them where you can put your finger on and have them screened where you know what you're sending out in your district.
All right, I believe the question has been called. We're voting on the motion that the board endorse the chairman of private duty section and chairman of registry committee to serve jointly on the community council committee. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then it is carried. Now we move back to the proposed budget for the nurses' professional registry. We've had some suggestions that this be brought back. I'm not sure that it was a motion. Ms. Hudson, was this in the form of a motion?
I move, Madam Chairman, that this budget be brought back to the next board meeting for consideration, allowing time for the meeting of this council.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
Well, Ms. Hudson, pardon me, I don't believe we'd know any more for the next meeting than we know now. If we would have to wait to at least the January meeting to approve it. I think we'd just be wasting the time of the board discussing something that we wouldn't know any more about, because
We've got the money to January, and then we have to start from there, so.
Ms. Mace, Mr. Taylor met with me last Friday, and this is early, what's today, the 6th, is it not? Shirley and Dr. Wilson called me last Monday, and Mr. Taylor called me last Monday. I just could not get to see Mr. Taylor. He was out of town at the times I could see him until last Friday. So it is believed that both of these men are ready to start meeting. I don't know, it seems like we have September and October, and I believe he feels the pressure because he's got the money to run till December 31st, and he's got to make some recommendation before this is depleted, before the funds are depleted.
You think this committee will know whether we'll have a registry or not by
Well,
November then?
they will be meeting, and I don't know that they'll have any final reports.
But that still won't give us time to try to get any money out. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I'm thinking the money part. Now, we've been brought out that you'd be legally responsible. Well, if we, in this year, we go ahead and accept this, and then find out, we'll say in January or February, that we're not going to have the money to run it, well, there we are.
We have to know before January, do we not?
Yeah.
Well, if we're not ready at the
November or
November
December.
board meeting, we can postpone it then till the January. But just get it postponed
Well, that's all
from
right,
now, because you
but
can't
just,
make a decision on this now, except it's a good budget. It's a wonderful budget, but we're.
Well, the budget is whittled.
Yeah.
$5,000, almost $6,000.
It's a fine budget.
Yes,
It sure reflects a lot of good thinking and work
But
on
the
it.
part of it is, would we have enough time, to know how many nurses, maybe, if Registry Committee does something to kind of poll it. I don't
Well,
know.
Could we submit this as being a minimum budget to carry the registry for next year to that committee?
No.
No, not until they ask for it.
Well, they'll be asking for it.
They'll ask for it.
They'd asked for this, and we had to have it on the
Well, we'll
road.
have it ready if they ask for it, but I don't think it should be
Is
given
there
to them
further
tonight.
discussion?
There's some question though, and there was at the last meeting, whether this is a minimum budget or not, because in looking over, we saw and thought we saw many other cuts that could be made.
If we had.
So if we had to, none of us wanna make them, but I don't think we could submit it as a minimum budget, because I think the board at the last meeting came to the conclusion that we could get along, unless if we just absolutely had to.
Any further discussion on this motion?
Well, I've got to ask the question because I asked it in the register committee meeting. I don't know. I want to know who made this budget up. I asked because I asked in the register committee meeting, it's always been the register committee's prerogative and their duty to make up the budget. And I've got to ask the question, I asked it in that meeting and I ask it now. Who made this budget up?
Who made it up?
Uh-huh.
It came from the register. You've got it here, you've got your figures and got the thing that you work with. And Miss Zerps, this is the first time it's ever been brought up to me, that is when you brought it up at the meeting the other day sometime, that call meeting, I think. First time I'd ever heard it. And this is the third or fourth time that I have made up the budget and presented it, and you've been at the board, and it's never been
Well,
brought
but
up.
that was when that ad hoc committee had charge, that was made up then. But I've served on the committee way before that, and the register committee always made up the budget and then brought it to the board and sent it to the finance committee. If they
It was never
recommended
given
any
to me.
change.
It was
In
never
the
given to
manual,
me.
it was put under the duties of the finance committee, and the manual was adopted to take precedent over everything except the charter and the bylaws. And it is in the manual there that the finance committee make that up, which overruled the old rules you had in 1953. If you want me to find it for you, I will. It's in the last
No, but
chapter there on
it's just,
finances.
why have a register committee? If they're gonna
To
just
carry
take
out the
things away
orders,
from
to
them.
carry out the administration,
Yes, administration.
administration, and make
See, they've never
recommendations.
seen this budget, it certainly should go to them.
And would you like me to find it in the manual for you?
No, I don't.
Look on the third
I
chapter,
just had to
fourth
ask
page.
because I asked the question in the meeting we had.
Yes. On the fourth page of the third chapter, it specifies that the finance committee prepares a budget, submits it to the board for approval. It's there, on the right-hand side. And that was in
Mrs.
63.
Honeycutt, do you have a registered committee meeting again? When?
We, on the 20th, I believe.
Of this
I don't
month?
have my book, 20th of September, and we're going to meet monthly hereafter.
Would it be in order for this budget to be reviewed with them so that at the next board meeting?
The way it was a misunderstanding. We thought that the budget at that time would not be brought up until next time, and I tried calling some of the members to tell them that it was being brought up today, and we will discuss it next time, and I'm sure all the register committee members will agree with the budget, because it is cut, but after this, we'll try to.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The district secures a room in the Healy building for the district office, is that right? At the rate of what?
$63.50.
$63.50.
That's the special rate. The regular rate's $67.50.
Well, $67.50 would be a lot less than $1,500. And perhaps the register committee might want to consider renting an room in the Healy building for the operation. And you don't have to, you're not waiting
that's
to the Henry
true.
Grady Hotel.
Except if you have a night registrar.
Well, you're not gonna have one.
I mean, if we get a big registry,
Then you can move
That'll
back.
be the day.
I'm the dreamer.
Well, now that's what the hospital administrators, their first question was if it can be set up to run, the night register must be put back.
Yeah, if
Well,
everybody
they
uses
would
it.
if
Well,
they
now,
got
that's
all
what
the
I'm
members
saying.
signed.
Now, all the nurses would have to use it.
Well, that's what I say, that's, was the question, so you can't do too much whittling until you know where you are.
Well, already, your committee is charged with the responsibility to really realistically look at
Yes.
what can be cut.
Yes.
Are they
Yes.
not from
Yes.
the call
Yes.
meeting? Very
Yes.
good. Well, will you bring this
Yeah, I
up at your
certainly will.
committee and bring back? Now, is there any further discussion to this motion, which is that I move that approval of the budget be postponed until November board meeting? Yes, I need to identify. it.
Registry,
This is,
yeah,
uh,
registry, I'm sorry,
of
The
the
proposed budget of
for the registry.
special rate of 1967.
nurses, professional registry budget.
That was supposed to be saying professional nurses registry. I think we made that some time ago, to not say the nurses professional, but professional nurses registry. We never used it.
They did change the name.
We changed it.
To professional.
Nurses registry.
Yes.
We changed that a long time ago,
But
remember?
this is so
Can't
stated,
ever remember
I
which way
can't
it
change
is.
this proposed nurses professional registry.
Hadn't been official.
Budget be postponed until November board meeting. Any further discussion to this motion? Then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Then it is carried. Thank you, Ms. Mays. That takes care of your lost my agenda now. Legislation, Ms. Ditchfield.
She sent in a report.
The legislation, no meetings were held, work carried on by telephone. Aims for the year: to work for Senate Bill 114, changing the Registered Nurse Practice Act to permit 2-year junior college programs in nursing. Accomplishments: saw Senate Bill 114 pass the Senate 35-1, and the House with no dissenting votes. Problems none. Suggestion: Chairman activity: 1. Kept committee informed. 2. Appeared at Senate committee hearing and spoke in favor of bill. 3. Was in Capitol during time bill was in the House, and with Georgia Hospital Association representative lobbied for the bill. Signature Alda L. Ditchfield. And we have 2 recommendations from the Legislative Committee. 1, that a new chairman be appointed for 1966 and 67. 2, that the committee be alerted to new legislation which may come up related to the licensed practical nurse law. The chairman should keep in touch with me as chairman of the subcommittee of the Joint Council of the 4 Nursing Organizations Board. Signed, Alda L. Ditchfield.
We will accept her report, annual report on legislation. Then we have the recommendations that a new chairman be appointed. This is already taken care of because it too is a standing committee. And I'll just say taken care of by President Ballard.
Apparently she didn't want to be reappointed.
She didn't even want to be called.
And then, that the committee be alerted to new legislation which may come up relative to the licensed practical nurse law. The
Oh.
chair-
May I say something on that at this time? It's previous, because I've had no official notification that there would be any proposed change in the practical nurse law. However, unofficially, it has been, I have heard, I have had no official communication on it. But as chairman of the state committee, I've heard by the grapevine that there will be a proposed amendment to the practical nurse law to increase the hours, only one word. The hours is 210 hours, and they want to raise it to 430 or something like that, and that would be the whatever change that is being considered, as it has been reported to me unofficially.
You mean in their experience training?
Yes.
Well,
No,
it's needed.
No, experience and theory.
May I take a minute of the board's time to tell them what happened last week, where I was nursing a practical nurse poured a drug that was poison for my patient and brought it in, and she thought she was supposed to pass around the medication, and I immediately saw that it was supposed to, was too much, measured by drops. So I took it out and I remeasured and put the same amount of water in, and it was at least 6 times the dose that the patient should have. This to me is most frightening.
Well, they should not be permitted to give medications. The law prohibits
Oh,
it.
Miss Hudson, they give them right in several hospitals, I know.
Well, it's
They've been doing it.
against the
Floor
law.
duty they do, and without supervision. But they're supposed to have supervision from an RN for insulin and heparin.
That's right.
And I alone, she brought it already drawn up in a 2 cc syringe, no RN on the floor in charge, 2 practical nurses, and asked me to check the heparin dose. And this was given Q3 hours, and I saw immediately it was in a 2 cc syringe, and it should have been given in a tuberculin syringe. I sent her back to order one, went down, and she had 3 times the dose drawn up to give that patient. I showed her that time how to give it. I was not asked the next time, so I don't know what the patient got the next.
You sure do.
Well, back to this
Yeah, me too.
recommendation, our bylaws covers in section 6, the Committee on Legislation. It tells of the constituents of the committee, study the needs for legislative action, study proposed federal, state, and local legislation for its implications, and advise the board. So this really is already covered, and I believe, Ms. Atkins, we do share the last year's reports with the new
That's
committees.
right, they're
and
sent
not-
to them.
they're sent
I
to
make
them, so-
copies, and in sending them the outline of their duties, at the same time, we give them the report. So these are suggestions referred to the new committee.
May we accept this as a suggestion rather than as a recommendation? It's already really covered as bylaws. All right.
So how do I write that up?
They're taken care of by, recommendations taken care of by present bylaw.
Should I list them though in my minutes?
Move be received this information.
Of course, they're gonna give this report in the 5th district.
All
Say
right.
the report was read. Unless I got it.
Recommendations taken care of by present bylaw.
Bylaw, not listed.
Then we come to membership and credentials. Mrs. Woods.
Ms. Wood had a meeting on the 1st of September, and if you look on the back of your little paper there, you'll find 17 names there. The credentials were all reviewed. All of those had been certified by hospital administrators here, except one, a Mrs. Lamb, and she is a graduate of Johns Hopkins. She called, said she wanted to join. She was not active, didn't expect to do any nursing, but if there's anything she could do to fight the union, to let her know. So Ms. Lamb, all her credentials were very good, and the membership committee would like your approval in order that we conform with the bylaws, that the 17 members that they approve be recommended for membership.
We have these 17 names for membership. I suppose all in favor of endorsement of these, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed as no. Then these will be cleared with membership committee. Mrs. Wood has been very conscientious. I don't have her report, but I am
She
aware
had to
she's
go,
met.
she sent it to me today, that she had to go out of town, illness in the family. And she had a meeting on September the 1st, and they were going to make personal contact with the people on the delinquent list, as well as others that had called in about it. And sponsors, we have all that tremendous amount of material on hand, and we thought it'd be a good time during National Health Week to use it, maybe have booths and setting up. They'll have further plans.
Nomination?
May I add something to your membership committee?
Yes.
Since we've been getting in so many replies from the last letter that was sent out about the American Federation, we have received quite a number of nurses throughout the state who's interested in membership. We sent out, I believe it was 50, probably 56, 57,
Said 44 for us,
44 for you. Didn't remember. Well, I sent out more than that. 'cause we had
120, I
telephone
believe you
calls.
said in all.
And we've, of course, I just want to let you know that there has been quite a number going on, two interested members in 5th District, and then we've gotten some more today.
One.
Too bad the union didn't get started sooner.
I don't know what's wrong
Nominations, Ms. Hopper, I believe she sent a report, did she not? I think this probably takes care of all of the others, just details.
And others are minutes on that.
The meeting of the Committee on Nominations, 5th District GSNA, took place on Friday, July the 29th, 1966, at 2:30 p.m. Crawford W. Long Hospital. Following members were present: Ms. Kay Hopper, Chairman;